If you're a conservative voter, I have a question for you. Have you ever had a concussion? Have you ever had multiple concussions? Back in November, I slipped getting out of the shower and my brain did not enjoy the ride. I have been struggling ever since with post-concussive symptoms. It sucks, but it has had me seeing certain things from a new vantage point. I work in tech support, and believe it or not, a lot of the people who call into tech support are on the more conservative side of things, and we get along fine. Conservative voters are generally much nicer than conservative politicians. It's actually kind of strange when you think about it, but over the years, I've had many conservatives, especially seniors, express how happy they were to get someone who, to hear them say it, speaks English, which always made me feel uncomfortable because it felt like it was a dig at some of my coworkers who I care about. And also, if somebody wanted to pay me a compliment, you could have just said, like, hey, it was really impressed that you figured out exactly what my problem was within 3 questions. I'm phenomenal at my job. There's lots to pay me compliments about, other than you speak English good. But since I hit my head, I can't process some people's accents well. Like, it hurts. I had one guy who sounded like Boomhauer from King of the Hill, and I had to get him to somebody else to talk to because the room was spinning. And I've had the same thing happen with other people. Like, I had one person with a Filipino accent that it was just like, my eyes are going cross, it hurt. So I found myself wondering how many people who I've assumed in the past were just being racist or xenophobic. I've wondered how many of them actually maybe had a brain injury like I have, and they might not have even known it. I'm fortunate that before my injury, I was already well practiced, both in terms of self reflection and in using the scientific method to work backwards towards a cause. But how many people have had something happen to them that leaves them injured or disabled for a long period or potentially permanently, but they don't necessarily have the words to express what they're experiencing, so they end up having to try and use somebody else's, and they end up just kind of sounding racist, even if they might actually be fine with people who don't look like them. They just have trouble listening, and how many of them maybe have just not been able to say, I really struggle with a thick accent, without sounding like they're just being racist. Because really, the only people who you typically hear talk about not liking someone's accent tend to be racist people on TV. I've also found that my temper is notably more difficult to control. Thankfully, I haven't lashed out at anyone in person. I'm still more myself than anything else, but I've definitely had a few situations where I've just been like, nope, I need to walk away or I need to leave the room because otherwise I am going to say some unkind things to somebody. And think about politics in middle America. They love to run town football stars for Congress, especially since Congress is one of those roles where you can either draft laws and work really hard, or you can sit there in a daze for 4 years and just vote whichever way your party tells you to. I can tell you that while I still feel just as smart as I used to for a few hours a day, I spend a lot of time knowing that I have to take it easy and not think too hard, otherwise I'm going to be in a lot of pain. So I can understand why, if I wasn't able to learn about what was actually going on in my brain, I might start resenting the idea that certain conversations require more nuance. I might start liking slogans like axe the tax, not appreciating that another way to say that would be defund healthcare. Now, I'm not saying that all people who vote conservative have hit their head really bad, but if you think about the jobs and activities that you associate with more conservative voters versus ones that you may associate with liberal voters or NDP voters, which demographic do you see is more likely to hit their head? So yeah, let me know. If you're a conservative voter, have you hit your head?